So Richard, I wanted to start with you today in reference to property disclosures. We were talking about this and how you guys run into the challenge about property disclosure on the insurance front. And we get it a lot too, because home sellers will come to us and they'll say, hey, I'm interested in selling my home, but I had this happen or I had that happen, and should I disclose? Should I not disclose? And obviously our answer every time is always disclose. Disclose everything you know. There's no reason to not disclose, because a home buyer is going to do an inspection, they're going to hire people, and they're going to find out you lied. And then you've got a whole other issue. You got legal liability, you got a contract falling apart because you were dishonest. So people will come to us and are like, oh, I don't know if I should tell the buyer this. You should tell the buyer if there's a material defect about the home, you should tell the buyer everything. You guys run into it on the insurance front as well.
Right, absolutely. This week I was at a meeting of the Greater Tampa Association of Realtors, and one of the members brought up the subject, and it was Susanna. I want to say hi to Susanna because I know she listens regularly every Sunday morning. But she brought up the fact that she sees regularly on her disclosure list people purposely not disclosing things because they say they never lived in the house or whatever reason. But the bottom line is that if you know that there is a material issue with the house, you need to disclose it. And I thought that relates a lot to what we see on a regular basis, because many times realtors come to us and they ask us to look at a particular house, and we check a lot of records on the house. We check permits, and we check the property appraiser's websites, and there's a lot of things that we have to do before we provide a quote. And many times we'll see permits that have been pulled for settlement remediation, and that's a clue to us that somebody in the past filed a sinkhole claim on this particular house. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the house had a sinkhole.
Correct.
But it means that they went to their insurance company a lot of times.
Thinking they had one.
Thinking they had one.
They had something going on.
Exactly. And what happens is the insurance companies, they hire a remediation company to go out there and to check the property and to check the house and to see if it does or doesn't have a sinkhole. And even in the end, if they don't have a sinkhole, and they come back to the homeowner and say, well, sorry, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, you don't have a sinkhole, in the end, that insurance company still paid about $15,000 to do all those tests on the house. And in the end, you still have a sinkhole claim on your property for about $15,000. And that's pretty relevant when trying to find insurance in the future.
And so you have a consumer buying the property, and the consumer goes to get an insurance quote and finds out that there are claims related to this, and it's not disclosed.
Right.
That throws up all kinds of red flags for the buyer, thinking, what else are they not telling me? Because it's a scenario where you just have to disclose. And I think that what happens a lot of times is the consumer that's selling the property is concerned that that would cause a buyer not to buy the home. So they say, well, let's just not say anything about it. But the reality is the consumer's going to find that information out when they go through the process to get a homeowner's quote, or they go through their inspections, they hire their contractors to look into different things about the property. They're going to find that information out. So why, if it's going to be likely discovered anyway, why would you just not say, hey, look, this is what happened, here's the explanation, here's the paperwork, here are the reports. There's another element that when there is an inspection report on a property, and it's within a reasonable time frame, that's something else that has to be disclosed. Sometimes home sellers, and we've had this happen, they've put their home on the market, they've had the property inspected prior to go on the market, so they know what's going on with it, and then they put the house on the market, but they don't tell you that they had an inspection done, and they know that there are things wrong with it. You have to disclose that. If there is a defect about the house, if there is something wrong, and the defect is not cosmetic, it can't be, oh, there's chips in the paint,
right.
Or, it needs to be an actual thing that's not working like it should. If there is a defect, the seller has an obligation to disclose it, and when they don't, there's all kinds of legal liability that gets triggered. There's concern on both sides of the deal, from the brokers, being that we make them sign several forms that say you have to disclose, and then when they don't, it makes us look bad. We've had it happen where, we had one not long ago where the home owner put the house on the market and had a sinkhole remediation like 5 years ago. Literally a full, whole-on claim and everything. Didn't disclose a word of it in a property disclosure statement or to us. Buyer goes to buy the house, buyer starts going through the process, and then guess what happens? We get egg on our face, looking bad, like we knew, and then when it was never disclosed to us. So it's, it's just, I think it's the golden rule. If you know something's wrong and you're looking to sell your home to somebody, you tell them what you know is wrong. That doesn't mean they won't buy it. It just means they have to factor that into the equation of the math of what they have to do to get the property ready.
Right, and it's not always a malicious type situation. We have a lot of elderly people
maybe they forget.
who say, hey, I heard about this sinkhole thing. Maybe I just want to get my property checked out. Let me call the insurance company. Not realizing the chain of events that puts into place.
And there's going to be reports and things that they can provide to show, oh, it didn't have a sinkhole, or here's what work was done. Those reports can alleviate the concern from the buyer, but you can't just not. They're going to be found. You can't just not show them or tell people you have them.
Right, and we have seen the malicious type where people they called and they had all these tests run, and then they called Morgan and Morgan, and that they kept it going until they could get a little bit of money out of it, and there's always that factor, but they're not all like that. A lot of times it's people just concerned because they've heard this stuff on the news and they want to get some things checked out, and not realizing that, hey, now all of a sudden it's going to put claim, and they're basically doing it for peace of mind. The insurance company tells them, no, you're fine, don't worry about it. But again, they don't realize that now there's a report out there saying that there's been sinkhole testing done on their property.